Happy Wednesday, everyone. I am live today with Kay Walker, part 2. Hey, Kay, what's going on?
Hello. Hola, everyone.
So I'm excited to talk today. We're going to talk more about like I want to talk more about like your land acquisition process and the market selection stuff, like how that all works. Last time we all talked about like everything else, right? We talked about
Yeah, everything else. We kind of got in the
marketing, we
weeds
talked
there.
about mail, how you're printing everything at home like a crazy person, but it's crushing.
Insane person. Yeah. We're like the goal with that was like figure it out. Okay, now we got to figure it out. Now the goal is like make that efficient and better, which we're working on that. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
doing that.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So what market? Oh, you can go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's awesome. So I'm just curious from like a market selection standpoint. I know last time we talked about you're focusing on just 3 markets, right?
Yes.
You have your Georgia, North Carolina, and did you say South
South
Carolina?
Carolina.
Okay, those are your
Hmm.
3 main, which is awesome because now you can get into your branding and building brand awareness and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's the way to do it because once you start building that brand awareness, that's when you really start like seeing that, you
Thousand
know,
percent.
cost of marketing go down because now people understand who you are.
Yeah.
But also you build that community trust, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
working local is super beneficial. I think it's also too for you since you're local. If they're local, you could shoot out there and meet them, shake their
Oh
hand, and
yeah,
tell
my
you, hey,
acquisition manager last week, we had a guy, 91-year-old gentleman, and he wanted to sign the contract in person. So she went out there, signed it at his dining room table. He like went to his garden, cut some sage, and gave it to her. Like so funny. And he owns like 5 other parcels, right, in the same county. And he's just like, I just want to see how you do with this one, and then I want to liquidate everything, give it to my daughter. She's not great at real estate, and so the other day he
yeah,
saw like the for sale, and we're buying it out. We just haven't closed yet. We're gonna close like next week or something. And he saw the for sale sign out there. Cause our PA states we can list before, after, and market. And he's like, "Oh, I see you got the for sale sign out there." He calls my acquisition manager. She's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, that was fast. Okay, that's fine." He was totally fine with it because I think she had went out there maybe 2 or 3 times. They talked on the
hmm
phone. It's just that comfort level that comes with being local.
yep,
Like right now we have 12 listed properties. 6 of them are double closes, and of the double closes, the folks live like damn near next door, and they're
hmm
local. So they're fine with it, I think, because we're local,
right,
and it feels a little bit safer,
hmm
having doing business with people that are local to you. You get to put some roots down as well. When you're a local, you can invest in some other creative marketing, in areas or communities that you're hitting and you're going to continue to hit, and take advantage of that local presence. So I feel like North
yeah,
Carolina is like my main, and then Georgia and South Carolina are like my side pieces. Like those are my 3 markets. But like North Carolina is, yeah, it shows love, and I think it's because like we're here. We have the
right.
connections here. We know the people here. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's really helpful to be local. Like flipping, like I've flipped a lot in New Jersey, and the reason why I love flipping locally is because I could just pop on and just sorry that for some reason I sent the wrong link in Discord. Let's see if this one works. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it works. Okay. That was the right link then. I'm like, where is everybody? Why is it so quiet in here? Yeah, so what I loved about flipping in Jersey is like I was able to go there, meet the seller, shake their hand, talk to them, discuss the property, what's going to happen, like come up with the solution like right then and there. Um, I flipping land in New Jersey isn't as lucrative. I mean, there is some stuff. Obviously, it's happening here. There's a lot of builders and growth, but it's not the same. There's not as much rural land as there is by you.
What
Um,
about like metro infills and stuff like that? I could imagine those are super expensive.
they are, and they're also super competitive. So
Oh, okay,
we
okay.
have a lot of land that we have in Jersey is like, so let's talk Jersey City, for instance. It's right on the waterfront, overlooking New York City, all that stuff. I have a friend of mine there that is buying lots like crazy, but he's like, just I don't care what the cost of the house is. Like there's a house on it already. He's like, I want it. I'll buy it from you, whatever. So we had a house in Jersey City in this specific area. I had it under contract as a wholesale deal. I was under contract for 600. It's probably worth like 1.1, fixed up and like turned into a two, right? So I was wholesaling it out for like 750, right? 'Cause whatever. I brought it to him. He's like, dude, I want it. I'll give you 800 for it. I'm like, sure. Okay. So he bought it, fucking knocked it down. But then he built a sixplex straight up on it and sold it for like 7.5 million. I was
It's crazy.
like, okay. Just like knowing what you could do with that is really the biggest thing, right? It's not necessarily like I didn't really think about that. Like I was looking at it from one avenue of like, okay, I could clean this house up and rent it and whatever. But he was looking at it as like, dude, I could knock this down and build like a sixplex. Like, why not just do that?
Yeah. And having people with that point of view in your network is important. I have an example like local lot here, and we thought it would go. Let me see, do I have it? Yeah, I do have it right here. It's 1.3 acres. And I was like, okay, it'll go for 63 on the market. We'll double close it. He was fine with double closing for 40,000. Like, I'll take that. It's a fast market. It'll sell quickly. Sent it to my realtor. He's like, probably could do 130 on this because we only need 50 foot of road frontage for each lot. And, the builders are going to look at it from this angle, right? And so I'm like, didn't even realize that. Like, I'm just gonna buy it straight out now, and that owner owns like 3 other lots in the area that he's just like, do this one first and then we'll do the other one. So I'm like, let me just, get that. But having that second set of eyes on your team or in your network is super important because you have a ton of experience, but then sometimes we get so used to doing something one way that we sometimes miss opportunity. Just having that second set of eyes on your team is super valuable. Yeah.
Super valuable.
Yeah.
Well, that's the biggest thing is having that second set of eyes. And we tried working some markets without realtors and it's not that fun.
Yeah.
You think you're going to save a couple bucks, but I think in the long run, you actually end up losing money.
Yeah.
Because you're handling all the stuff. You're not walking the properties with these people trying to sell them on the property, all that stuff. Like you're just out there and be like, yeah, go walk it. Call me if you're ready. Like that's not good enough. Like you need people like, hey, let's go look. Oh, look, you could put your home right here. This is beautiful. This area is growing fast. Buying this, putting a house here.
It makes a difference.
Totally.
I have a lot in Georgia. It's 10 acres, beautiful lot, lots of traction on it. And the realtors call and they're like, trying to find it. They don't know where it is. I don't have a for sale sign on it. Like maybe I should have the droner go do that. I'm going to have them go do that. But it's not the same having, having that local presence, all day long. I'm going to do deals in Georgia and South Carolina, but anywhere we can like go to and we have that team there, it makes it that much easier, to be honest with you. So
even if it's like, like 80% or like 50% of your businesses that bulk outside of your local network, but then you do like your big deals are all local, you're probably gonna do really well with that.
So and slowly, slowly but surely getting, licensed in those other states too, so we can kind of build that presence. Long-term goal is to build a brokerage that's designed for us, where investors can, get their comps done, their CMAs done. We list it for them. We do the drone photos. Because it's so hard to find realtors that understand what we do and what we need. And I think that is an opportunity, to be honest with you. So as I'm building my business and learning and building relationships and learning these markets, I am going to, work on getting licensed in those other states and kind of building that brokerage to create that opportunity for other folks. So it's just easier to dispo,
Yeah. So that's awesome. So you have your license now in North Carolina, right?
I do. I don't practice.
I have my license in New Jersey. I don't practice either.
Yeah, I don't practice, but it's good to have it so you can have access to everything. And it's also like a badge of trust working with other realtors. When you reach out to them, you have no rapport and they see that you're part of the same firm, because I'm part of a huge firm. And we may not know each other, but they see that you're associated. So it definitely does help. It's a lot of work on the dispo side, like, to be honest with you. So I'd rather not practice. I'm fine not getting the commission on it. Don't be greedy. We make enough with our spread, to be honest with you. But in the future, it will be nice
I
to have a
know.
firm and collect, have some agents
Well,
and collect those commissions.
it's also, think about it this way too. Like, you're not the answer for every seller, right? So if they don't want cash, they want to sell it. Hey, look, no problem. I have a great agent that can list it for you. Here you go. But you own the
Exactly.
agency. It's like you could just work
Yep.
inside your own funnel and, whatever, like market like that. Cause you're already marketing to these people. They've already raised their hand and said they want to sell. Where
Yep.
they, at what price is different, or how fast is different. So you could probably capture a wider audience because you're offering cash,
Yep.
creative, or listing.
Or worst case scenario, you can list it. And another thing too, on the dispo side, our realtors really get to touch base with our buyers, right? They
Yeah.
get to understand what they need. And so I think that's an opportunity too in the future to have a firm, build that buyers list, be the authority in the area where builders and developers know, hey, not only can you come to us for what we have active, but if you need something, give us your buy box. And it's not
Yep.
like the thirsty, because investors call all the time the builders with, hey, what's your buy box? And they're tired of hearing of it because it's some bad actors out there who just don't know
Yep.
much about land, right? And so they're wasting their time. But if you create a brand, an authority in a local area, and builders know what you do and the value you bring, they're going to come knocking at our door because they have quotas. They have quarterly quotas to acquire
Yep.
land and build these homes. So if they know, hey, Kay and her firm, they're going to be able to acquire what we need in Q4. In Q1, let's tell her what our need
Yep.
is. And so now we're just really killing it at that point. We don't even have
Mhm.
to put it on market. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
I have a friend that does
so
that.
many benefits.
He's got a connection with a couple builders. That's it. Just a few. You don't need a lot. Couple builders, but they know they could trust him. So
Yep.
they'll tell him like, "Hey, look, we got to buy this many lots this month or this quarter, whatever the case may be." And he goes, "Okay, great." And he just goes out and he finds the lots and brings it
Yep.
to them. He knows their standards, knows what they want. He's making 250K a month just doing that.
Just like that. Nice
That's
and
it.
easy.
Nice and easy.
So many ways to skin
Yep.
the cat, like in this business. I just love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
He knows they pay 100K, so he goes locks it up at 80, 85, and he's good. He's like, I'm making 15, 20K without any risk of capital. I'm not putting any money on the table. Why not?
Yep.
So, like, there's that whole end of the business that you could do, like crush it like that. But with you,
Yep.
it's great because if you're building this brand awareness in your local market, they're going to come to you.
Yeah, that's what I want to build. I don't do anything like just a little bit. Like I'm like going all in. Like I want to be the authority when people think of I need land. Primarily, the
Yeah.
audience is going to be the builders and developers. Of course, people that want to buy one-off lots and stuff like that. But I want them to think of like whatever the name of the company is going to be. Think of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
that's
love it.
yeah. I look forward to it. I don't want to flip forever. I want to keep the machine going as long as I can, obviously. But like building that arm, building that dispo arm, because we already have the acquisition arm. That's what we do. But if we have the
Mhm.
dispo arm internally, that's just gonna kill it.
Yeah.
It's gonna kill it. So
I just started reading this, listening to this book today. Let me show it to you. It's called Trust
okay.
Me, I'm Lying. It's let me
Trust
see.
me, I'm lying.
Yeah. So it's this guy. Oh, come on. Why is this doing this? Oh, this new computer. Like I said, I got a new computer now. I have to allow access to Google Chrome. Allow. Yes. Later. Entire screen. I did that. Open system preferences. I did that. Come on.
I'm gonna look it
Okay.
up.
So I can't share screen today. It's
I'm
called
just gonna look it up.
Yeah, it's called Trust Me, I'm Lying, by Ryan Holiday.
Oh,
And
yep, I got it up. Okay.
Steve Sims had put me on this book, and it's awesome. I just started listening to it today. Is it going to help you directly in land? Probably not. But I think some of the ideas that he comes up with really do help and make you think like, oh crap, this is the way we've been marketing is wrong. Like we should do marketing this way. Because nowadays everything is about like guerrilla marketing, really being out there and being that um like negative press sells more than positive press, right? So
Unfortunately, it does.
it
Yeah.
does. Like if it bleeds, it feeds, right? That's the old what is it? I think it's if it bleeds, it feeds or something like that. I forget the news thing. So that's kind of what he talks about in this book is feeding into that negative press. So if you're trying to build a brand, um, building it with negative press, then build out the positivity on top of it is pretty interesting. Like he goes at it in a way where like he helped Tucker Max. I don't know if you know who he is. He's like big time in book editing and stuff like that. But he started out, he was like this, he wrote a bunch of books and he made a movie, I Hope to Serve Beer in Hell. Very controversial movie. So what he did is he got billboards done. And then this guy was working with him to build his press. He went and then defaced the billboards. And then he went and then told other people like about it, bloggers and stuff like that. That got them the press. So what the billboards were doing weren't really helping at all. But once the billboards got defaced, everybody started talking about this movie.
Yeah.
It just kind of blew up from there. So like, yeah. So he started feeding into that attention and then posting, like he would post things on like Reddit and things like that and like saying, hey, let's do a like let's do a march against this movie and this and that. And he started building that. And then that got like national press. So that movie, which was an indie movie, ended up, it didn't actually do well in box office, but it's a cult classic now because of this guerrilla marketing. And it just makes you think like, man, if I do some stuff like this, not necessarily like full on negative.
Right. Not necessarily want to do that. I mean?
Like there's this guy, Steven Singer. You ever heard of him? He's it's a jewelry store in Philly.
Okay.
And his billboards are all over the place on like the turnpike and stuff like that. When you're driving, it says, I hate Steven Singer. And you think like, oh, this guy, why did he do that? And like, I found out it was a story about this lady. She called and her testimonial was, I hate Steven Singer. I hate him because every time I go in there, his jewelry is so beautiful. I just can't help but buy it. And it was like, people like see this billboard that says, I hate Steven Singer. Then they have to go and see why the hell is that up there?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why.
Yeah, because if it said I love him, no one's gonna go search for that. That doesn't pique anyone's interest, right?
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
So,
and I'm glad you said like, will this book, right? The book, Trust Me Online, like, will it help me directly with land? And it's so many things. I think that I was thinking about this over the weekend too, like so many skill sets I think that folks need to self-educate on. And it's not directly related to land, right? Yeah. I think people take courses and like, oh, the course didn't work or the coaching didn't work. And it's like, you take a course and there's going to be lacking your knowledge or your experience, depending on where you're starting from. Some of us already were in real estate or you're already, have been an entrepreneur, but some folks are just like brand new, coming from their 9-to-5, like no experience, right? And so when they start this course and then they take it, they're like, man, this is not working. It's books like you just mentioned, and there are courses outside of being related to land. Honestly, none of it's related to land, like business in general, right? You may need to self-educate on that a little bit for you to be successful in land, or marketing, not directly related to land. Maybe you need to self-educate about that a little bit. And so I think people put a lot of focus on the courses and like the coaching and saying, hey, this isn't working. It's like, or on the competition, right? I love to hear like, oh, it's the competition. Or like land insights, which I love. You guys keep just bringing the heat with the new add-ons and what you're able to do and adding the road frontage filter and all that stuff. I've heard like, is this a race to the bottom? I've heard that before. And it's like, I'm looking at it like, the more they improve this tool, the better I can do, like competition and technology progressing in this space isn't the reason why people don't have deal flow or deals in their pipeline. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. The reason is because they're not picking up books that don't directly relate to land, like you just said. Like you have to understand where you lack in your education or your skill set, right? Be self-aware to be like, maybe I don't know a lot about marketing. Maybe I don't know a lot about business. Let me self-educate on those things. Like we live in a time where you can learn anything and everything for very cheap or free, to be honest with you. It just takes you being disciplined enough to do that and understanding how you learn. Because if you can fill in those lacks and like improve your skill set, you can literally do well at anything, to be completely honest with you, is my philosophy on it. So
it's crazy because like I've always loved business, and I've been starting businesses since I was like young, and I'm addicted to it, right? I think we all kind of have that. I think I talked about this at the mastermind. They actually did a study that there's the same neural processing that we do for people who have addictions is the same exact thing that entrepreneurs have. It's the same thing. It's just we're addicted to, like, we funnel it towards business and growth,
Oh
where
yeah,
other people funnel it towards addiction, drugs, alcohol, things like that. But
yeah.
it's the same exact addiction, right? What I noticed is I was always trying to start businesses, doing things, whatever, when I was younger, and things never really clicked. And then one day I picked up an Audible, like audiobook, and I was like, reading whatever. I would read here and there. I read an audiobook. It was like I read The Martian, not even like a business book,
Yeah.
but I listened to The Martian. I'm like, this is great. I'm like sitting here working and listen to this book. Cool. And then I cranked out another, cranked out another. And every day I started listening. I'm like, all of a sudden I'm listening to one book a day. And I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into a couple business books. I listened to like Kiyosaki and this and that. And I'm like, okay, now I'm like really starting to learn. My mind like expanded so much. And this week alone, I listened to what's today? Wednesday. I'm on my 4th book this week. And
That's
I
killing
listen,
it, Dennis.
yeah, I love it because once you Audible is the best because I can just
Yeah.
crank
Oh
it
yeah.
on.
Audible's the best.
Yeah. So I just listened to yesterday. I finished Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time.
Yep.
Love that
Yep.
book.
Yeah.
And it just opened up my eye. Like what he said, one line he said in that book, he's like, books are one of the secrets. Like, I forget exactly how he said, I don't know, whatever. But he's like, books are one of the secrets of knowledge, like that everybody needs to partake in. Like you could go buy a book for $10 and learn 20 years of experience from somebody.
1000%.
Like, why wouldn't you just do that? So that book was awesome. Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. Just read that. It was really good because he
I was
talks about
literally
like,
listening to him on a podcast when I was
I
in the
love
steam
him.
room earlier today at the gym. Like so funny. Yeah.
He's awesome. I've had a couple conversations with him. Really awesome dude. That book is awesome. My favorite book all time is Steve Sims, Blue Fishing and Go for Stupid. Absolutely. You want to keep that? You want to keep a secret from people put it in a book? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. So that book, Steve Sims, Blue Fishing, and the other one, they're not necessarily like business books, whatever. They're about fostering relationships and building positive relationships and getting shit done. But it makes you think outside the box. Like that's where the cookie box thing kind of came all into play because thinking about what he does, handwritten notes, all that stuff, standing out from the crowd, you do something like that, you're done. You're standing out, you know?
Immediately.
But the reason why sorry for the tangent. The reason why I bring up that book is this, for my cleaning business, we're just getting off the ground. I was always thinking, I'm like, I have to send out marketing that's going to make us look pretty and nice and all this stuff. But I'm like, what if instead of doing the pretty marketing that everybody sends in their door, they get it every door direct mail, and it's like the same old like stock image of a lady cleaning a window or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, what if I do something different and just put like, you suck at cleaning your house, or like cleaning your house sucks, and just kind of like go into that. Like people are going to look at this and be like, huh, I do suck at cleaning my house. You know what I mean?
I just
like,
don't want to do it. I hate doing it. Like
I hate it. So instead of me doing it, I start a business around it. Right. That's what I do.
So is your cleaning business, are you guys doing Airbnbs too, or is it just residential? Like
residential for my immediate area, residential, but we're going to get into that stuff a little bit. I don't love the Airbnb stuff because it's a lot of like,
it's very fast paced. Yeah.
Very fast paced.
If you ever do decide to get into it, because that is something an auxiliary company we brought in house was because you spend so much money on it, right? We brought it in house, and any tips or whatever you want on it, I can give a lot of insight because it's a lot of money in it. It's a lot of turnover, but if you can manage that calendar and if you have people ready to go, it's a good amount of money in it. So
I just interviewed an operator this morning for the cleaning business, and she's been cleaning for like 15 years, tell me all about it. But she had her own business. She doesn't want to do it anymore. She's like, I just can't handle the paperwork and this and that. I'm like, perfect. We do all that. You just go in and manage the people and clean. She's like,
that's
okay,
perfect. Yeah.
So we're hiring day one an operator that's just going to operate the business, like that stuff. And then I have my buddy who does all the payroll and everything like that. And me and my one partner just focusing on the marketing and all that stuff. So we're trying to, that's another whole thing. But Sidebar.
You got your hands on all kind of stuff, Dennis.
I can't help myself. I'm addicted to business. I cannot help it.
No, it is like business I think is very exciting. I think the appealing side of it, and this is I think for everyone, I think as human beings, like we feel alive when we progress, when we have progress, whether it be financially, spiritually, in our relationships. When we have progress, we feel alive and it feels really good, and that can be addicting. And in business, man, we measure it so much in so many different ways. Like I'm excited every day, like about even when it's not a great day, it's like I love having control of something that you can grow, unlimited. You can do whatever you want with it, and it's very, very exciting. But you do have to be careful, and this is like an Alex Hormozy thing, like the woman in the red dress, right?
Yeah.
Shiny object syndrome, because even with my 3 markets, I deal with all the time. I'm like, should I add Tennessee? Because that's the Southeast. Like, should I add, Virginia? But I have to tell myself, like, nope, stay in your market, stay, like just stay focused, because you're going to get the most benefit from being hyper focused, So
there is a thought process of like, okay, going a little bit wider, casting a wider net, right? Maybe you reap more deals. But the problem is you might not know those markets as well as you know where you're at. And I think what you do is if you hyper fixate on just these 3 markets for now, get really freaking good at them, then what you do is you bring in an area expert in that next market. Go to Tennessee, bring in an expert. Then go to Virginia, bring in an expert. And they could be your boots on the ground in that like specific area. And you give them a profit share. Say any deals we do over here, you get a percentage plus pay, whatever. And that's the way you build a really, really good boots on the ground, reputable business.
Yeah.
Just keep going from there. And like that would be, I mean, at that point, you'd probably be like in the 10 million range, like crushing it.
Yeah. Even this year, me and my acquisition manager was texting last night. She's like, what do we have? Like, what are we at right now? And she has access to Pebble and everything. She's like, where are we at? And I'm just like, add up, like we have, 12 live listings, and like net, I did the net, it's $318,000 net in the pipeline, like live right now. Like, and they're great markets.
6 months ago, right?
Yeah. What? Great. Say that again.
You started what, 6 months ago?
Yep. Started 6 months ago, and really just, switched to the mailing that I do at home just in November. So like in my mind, I'm like, that's when I really started, because everything that we're seeing like is from that mail, everything that we're seeing, even the 12 listed, they are 6 of them are, what are they? I wrote it down. 4 are from November mailings, 3 are from December mailings, 1 from September, and then 4 are actually from January, like mail we sent out in January.
Nice. So, you've already got it under contract.
Yeah, which is insane. And
but that's the benefit of first class mail.
That's that first class mail little tip.
Because it gets there in 3 days. You mail it out, tomorrow it's there.
Yeah, and I'm mailing in the same state or South Carolina or wherever they're at. But it gets there in 1 to 3 days, which is nice. So so that's golden. It's golden. So I know we were supposed to talk about market selection, so we can.
We'll sidebar. We'll get to that one. Yeah.
All right, so let's. It's like we need a moderator, Dennis. We need like a moderator to come in and be like, "Hey, come back over here."
The 2 of our brains are just both like, "Ooh, squirrel!"
Yeah, it's like Yeah, that is literally me in real life. Like with my closest friends, like people watching, like, can't even keep up with the conversation. You guys are going everywhere.
I'm the same. I have ADHD. My wife has ADHD, so we're both like.
I'm pretty sure I have it. I'm not like clinically like. I haven't gone in and got subscribed for it or anything, but I'm pretty sure.
You probably do. A lot of entrepreneurs have it. It's just it manifests in different ways. But we'll just go on tangents. Like the other day, I was talking about something, and then I just started talking about something completely different, and we had friends over, and they did not understand. My wife was just like, she just picked it up right away. And I'm like, this is just because this is how our brains work. We could like sidebar from something and go on a completely different tangent and then just like bring it back. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, market selection. So we know you're in 3 specific markets. Like,
Yes.
What constitutes a good market for you? Like, why are you picking a certain county zip code? Are you doing zip codes? Are you doing pockets? What are you
Yeah.
looking at?
So I'm still learning. Like I consider myself still new in the space. So, what
Mhm,
I speak on and what I say or any feedback I give is just solely on my experience. I feel like I had to say that disclaimer.
disclaimer.
um,
Yeah.
but so my tools or my tech stack include the land portal for
Mhm,
data pulling and it scrubs it, which I love. Land insights for market selection. So
mhm.
initially, I'm going to do market selection through land insights. Um, I go zip code level because that's what I
Okay.
prefer. I
Yep.
don't even look at county level. And I know folks in the community and people way senior than me. They're like, look at the county level. But this works for me. So I go straight into zip code level.
There's no need to go county level. Unless
Yeah,
you're doing like broadband for like 50,000 mailers a month, like county
yeah,
level isn't
I'm
gonna
not.
work that way.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
don't know why this thing comes up sometimes. A little
I don't
little
know
thumbs up
either.
bubble. It's
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah, I
like
saw
when you say
that.
certain
Yeah.
things, it just goes, or maybe somebody's giving us a thumbs up. That's what it is on Facebook. That makes more sense.
Okay.
There we
We'll go
go.
with that. We don't
We'll
know if
go with
that's
that.
true, but we'll go with
Yeah.
that.
No idea. But somebody did it again, so whatever.
um, um, See, lost train of thought. That's the ADHD kicking in
Totally.
right
I don't
there.
even know
Yeah,
where we
yeah,
were.
yeah. No,
Market selection, zip code level.
yeah,
There you go.
zip code level. So
Yeah.
so I go in and three main things I look at. I know we have the ability to search certain metrics for 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and 12 month, right? And then we can also take a look at active, pending, sell-through rate, days on market, Gini score, which is how
Mhm.
homogeneous an area is for all
Mhm.
those non-land insight users out there. Um, we get
Yeah,
to
the
see that
lower the
stuff
score,
like
the more
this.
homogeneous. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. With land insights, you get to see it in like 2 clicks,
That's
right?
all. Yeah.
It's killer. So anybody who's taking their land business seriously, they I would highly suggest. And I don't get paid off of it at all, period whatsoever. I'm
Me
just a
either. So
user. I would suggest you get a demo. Yeah, get a
yeah.
demo, but saves a lot of time. But I think looking at the 1 month metrics, it's a little soon. And so I don't look at that.
Mhm.
I look at the 6 month mark for days on
Same.
market, for sell through rate. Um, and there's some general things, right, with sell through rate. So at a 3 month, you want to at least be at 30%, at a 6 month, 60%, 1 year, 100%, meaning that everything that was listed in the last year got sold in that
Yep.
year, that absorption rate, right?
Yep.
Those are just some like safe numbers. And I don't want to say anything because everything is dependent on the market and the land selection or what you're looking for. So nothing is like a hard, fast rule,
No.
right? And I'm learning that because a lot of
Yeah.
times data that we look at, it doesn't truly paint the real picture of the market. And
Not
I
at all.
only know that, again, being local, metros, I live in Charlotte, it's a metro. Land insights, honestly, or any like looking at sell through rates days on market is totally deceiving. Like it's not going to
Yeah.
tell you if a market is good or not. Like I live in a zip code that is in super high demand. Like I
Mhm.
know that because I live here. The first piece of land that I sold, we talked about on the first podcast, sold in 3 days. You look at that zip code on Land Insights or anywhere, just look at Zillow records and stuff like that. You're gonna say, man, that's a terrible market. But I know because I'm local, like those markets are fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's really hard to see that in the numbers. So when you're going into a metro market, if people do that, I think that is something super localized. Like you really need to be local there or really know that area. When you're going out to,
Lost you for
more
a
rural,
second.
what'd you say, Dennis? Are you there?
I lost you for a second. There you
Oh,
go.
okay.
Back?
I'm back.
Was it
Yep.
me or you?
I
I
don't
don't know
know.
if it was
You
me
you
or
were
you.
here the whole time, so
You froze on me. um,
it's that new Mac laptop.
that's what it is. It's got to be me. It's gonna be me. um,
So yeah, like I was saying, I think metro areas are super hard to say, okay, these are the
yeah.
standard metrics and this is what determines a great market. No,
Yeah.
like it's easier to do that when you're 5 counties removed from a metro, to be honest with you.
Right.
You know,
You,
there's some standardization with what constitutes a good market or not. But I think
mhm.
as you get closer into metros, those numbers can be all over the place, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
just as a standard, like, and now I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this on the pricing side because I've read, people don't like price, and I think they don't like price because they don't understand how to use price.
Hmm.
Um, it's garbage in, garbage out. You can't expect price to price something for you that has 2 comps in the past 2 years, right, in the area. So I
Yeah.
think about in market selection, I think about my end that I have in mind, right? I think about my disposition, right? Like I
Right.
don't want to select markets where it's going to be hard to price, hard to comp, hard to get pricing for, or hard to dispo. And so I like the 6 month metric there. I like to see that I will go all the way up to 150 to 180 days on market and under, to be honest with you,
Hmm.
just to keep everything, in front of me and not weed out maybe a market that
Yeah.
is excellent. And there was 3 listings that were listed poorly that made the
Yeah.
average days on market like go
But
crazy.
not only that, but you can't. I don't trust days on market because a days on market does not take into account the person who's buying the property, getting their loan, their due diligence phase,
Yeah,
all that stuff. So like I look at pending, and you can't. That's not a metric you're going to pull on Land Insights or anything like that. I look at how many days the property went to go pending. So once I find out, like overarching, okay, this is what the market looks like. The days on market is like 180 or less. I go in there and then I start looking at the individual listings, and I'm looking and I'm like, 50% of them are going pending in like 7 days, 30 days. It's like this is a hot market,
yeah.
and
But
if
then
you
it's
look at
like sitting because they have their due diligence, they're getting their loans, they have to get approved for
perk
that and
test,
do
this and
yeah,
that, yeah,
yep,
survey, all that stuff. So you might go pending in 7 days, but it might not close for 6 months, or
yeah,
no, I hope not. It might
yeah.
not close for like you know 90 days or something like that, which I've seen. I've seen that a
Yeah.
lot. So it
And that's why I
happens.
think it is a benefit. It is a cost up front, but to get the perk test done and the survey done up front,
Done.
as people start to build their business and they have that cash flow to do that, I think it's good because when people like, what are you asking for 30 days for? Like, no, like
Yeah,
everything's
here
done.
it is.
Here it
Yep,
is. Unless there's financing involved, right?
sure. They
That's
need
a
to
little
get
bit
their own
different.
appraisal, all that stuff. But
Yeah.
if we're working a subdivision, we get perk tests because I'm not buying a lot in a subdivision that I might not be able to build on, because then what's the point,
What's the
right?
point? Yeah,
Yeah, you're
exactly. What's
buying
the
a
point?
defunct lot. There's some lots that don't perk, like that just happens. So
Yep.
you need to get perk, or if there's no sewer, water lines or anything available, then obviously,
Yep.
yeah, I got to perk. But um,
Yep. So
yeah,
that's days on market. I like to see, as far as active, as far as sold, I like to look at 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. I don't like to see anything where like 156 sold in a year, right?
yeah,
Because it tells me like probably a slow market, and then there was some really nice subdivisions built, and they kind of all sold
yep,
at once. And then the
yep,
numbers are wrong because they're selling those new houses with the land, right? And so you're seeing
hmm
comps that are 400, $500,000 in some counties,
and you're
like
like,
in
oh my
South
god, this
Carolina.
is
You're like, oh, I thought
amazing.
this was good, and no, that's not accurate, right?
Yeah,
So learning how to look at the data is important. It's not as black and white or cut and dry. And you'll learn that too, as you test out these markets. To be honest with you, what to look for and what not to look for. I
yeah,
like to see in the last 12 months that at least between 8 to 10 have sold in that zip code. Some zip codes are going to be a lot bigger than other
right,
zip codes, right? Um,
yeah,
sometime in metros, 5 sold in a year is incredibly good in zip code because there's just not a lot of land that goes on market in metros,
right,
So it truly depends, I think, on the type of land you're looking for, the market, all of that good stuff. I would tell anyone, like, don't say these are my metrics and that's it. Like that's all I'm
yeah,
going for. You're gonna miss out on good markets.
yeah,
And why I like to see the sold at least 8 to 10. I know I'm gonna have good comps. And I also, and some people probably not gonna like this because it's a lot of work, but I do it by acreage band too.
oh,
Like,
I do too. Yeah,
yeah, like I'll look 2 to 5 acres. Maybe a market is really good in that area, and maybe in I don't know, 20 to 40, right? So you're
Yeah.
targeting those 2 acreage bands, maybe a little bit below, a little bit above, but you don't want to waste mail. You don't want to waste marketing. So I think it's
Yeah.
worth the upfront due diligence and market selection that you're
Yep.
picking. You know, you're not just picking zip codes, you're going all the way down to, okay, these acreage band ranges, the typical ones, right? 1 to 2, 2 to 5, 5
Yep.
to 10, 10 to 20. And you're saying, okay, these are the things that are doing well in this area. And if you're taking that information, it's really easy to find subdivide opportunities when you do that too.
Yes.
Super easy, because you're like,
Super
okay,
easy.
20 to 40s are selling. Oh, 2 to 5s are selling for this. Like, golden.
So
You kind of already know,
yeah,
like, where to target.
I went through and I did that for almost every. What did I look at? I looked at every single state that has subdivide exemptions, and then I tracked what the larger acreage is selling for versus what the 10-acre comps are selling for, the child comps.
Do you
And
try
then
to
I
do
put a
like a
ratio.
double? Like, it needs to be at least double.
Yeah, so I put a
Okay.
ratio. As long as the ratio is two or higher, then that's a market we could target. We could go and acquire even above market price 100-acre property because I know it's a 5-to-1 ratio. So
Yeah.
I could go pay almost 4 times the amount of market, subdivide it, and still double or triple my money just by doing this upfront work of this whole
Yeah,
thing.
the upfront work.
I'll share the sheet with you. It's pretty awesome because
That's
there's a lot.
golden.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll talk about it after the call. That's my little inside private
oh,
sheet.
I like that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'll show that to you. It's pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. This is the best thing about this business. Like, we're not competition. We're collaborative. Like, this is how it works. Like, this
Yeah,
is all,
and you have to operate, like, I swear, like, you have to operate from a place of contribution just in life, not just in
yeah,
this business thing, because, like, you will see your life, you will feel abundant. Like, it feels good
mhm,
to, like, share and help like that. It like gives you
yeah.
a certain feeling, and you'll just see your life be more abundant if you're operating from a place of a contribution, to be honest with you. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I agree.
we're not competition.
No,
Yeah. I
yeah.
know people like to say that.
A lot of people are like, "There's so much competition in this business." I'm like, I don't think there's competition. I think you just haven't collaborated with them yet.
Yeah,
That's the way I look
exactly.
at it. Like, one day that person that you consider your competition might be doing a subdivide with you. You might go on to make $2 million each with them. Like,
Yeah,
that's just how it works.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
1,000%, 1,000%. It's all about, like, I really feel like our perception is our reality, truly,
yes,
right? You can say, oh, there's competition and these market conditions, or you can look at it in a different light and say, like you said, we can team up and work well together, or share what we're doing
yeah,
that works well. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
yeah.
yeah,
Check your reality, check your mindset.
yeah. Once you start doing that and, like, really, like, you realize, like, man, I am, like, holding myself back by not connecting with more people and, like, doing this stuff. Like,
Mhm.
that's what I love. I love, like, getting on these calls with people and just having these discussions because then you realize, like, okay, I want to work with this person because they actually, like, are growing and being aggressive and doing the right things and, like, have a good moral background. That's another huge thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So anyway, so back to market selection.
But where's our moderator? Where's our moderator?
All right, bring us back.
Back to market selection.
So when you go, you pick your markets, you do zip code level, you go by, would you say 30, 60, 100? Typically, I usually do like 15, 25, 15, 25, 75, 100. So like the 1 month is 15.
I don't like 30. Let me just be clear. I just put
Yeah,
that as a baseline for folks. I don't
that's
like a
what you go.
30% STR in the first 3 months. That lets me know I won't die in that market. But
Right.
ideally, you do want to. I mean, it's great if you get 100%, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what we all want. But you also don't want to leave good markets out there because
Yeah.
some stupid listing skewed the data at the
That's
same
right.
time, right?
You know what?
So, and again,
I
metros, none of those numbers, they
Yeah.
don't even make sense. Like, so that's a one-off. Metro markets
you
are
also gotta
one-offs.
look
They're crazy.
you also gotta look at what recently went on in the market because yeah, maybe the sell-through rate is like, like a 50% in the first 3 months or whatever the case may be. And you're like, wow, it's awesome. Let me just select this market. But then if you just go blindly and just go into that market, but you didn't realize that somebody just did a 10-acre exempt subdivide and
Yep.
sold all the lots. So all 20 sales that just happened in the last 3 months were in this one
area.
parcel,
That's it. Yep.
and nothing else is going on at all in the market. Well, if you go market to that, you might not get anything. But
Yep.
what that should do is bring light to your head and say, well, this just happened here. If I go get a 100-acre parcel, I know I could replicate this. So
Exactly.
now let me go look for
Exactly.
the 100-acre, not the 10 acres, because whatever, I want the 100-acre so I could go do that
Yep.
exact thing.
Yep.
So people will blindly just mail to it thinking that's, oh, we've had all these sales. But once you look at the actual market, the sales might have been just one street or whatever the case may be.
Yep. Or
So
a
maybe
new
there's no demand.
subdivision that just
Yeah.
came on market, and they're just selling them. So
Yep.
like, yeah, that is so important to, because people ask like, oh, what do you use? What do you use? What are your metrics? And it's like, it's not black and white. Like,
No.
I like, please do your research.
Yeah.
Please be a student of this industry.
Yep.
Like, as long as you're in it, like, don't think because you've had some success that you're going to continue to have the success. That's just not how business works. It's dynamic. And
That
so the more you are constantly learning and figuring out your craft and going deeper than most people, like, you're
yeah.
going to be successful in it, I think. Yeah.
So that actually just happened to us. We got too big for our britches in the beginning. So in the beginning, when we first got into land, we were like, we know this. We're real estate people. We're going to crush this thing. We're going to blow all these people
we got this.
Freaking, I marketed, texting, everything like that, did all the crap for like 4 months, got nothing. Spent a whole bunch of money. I'm like, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. My market selection was wrong. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought I did because I'm like, ooh, this is a pretty market. Let me go here.
Yeah.
I didn't look at any of the metrics, whatever. So I screwed that. Then I got in, figured out the right stuff, working with Sumner, did the 90-day, all that stuff. And then boom, everything started working. Recently, too big for my britches again. I started deviating from what we were doing. And I said, I'm going to change something. I'm going to change a lot of things. Well, I didn't realize all these little micro changes I was doing. I changed everything in my business, but I had no ground to stand on to figure out what I was changing, what the
that
effect
affected everything. Yeah.
So Q3, Q4 this past year were super slow for us. And I'm like, why are they so slow? And then Q1, we didn't get enough mail out. I'm like, okay, so something I did Q3, Q4, Q1 this year, I didn't get enough mail out. So I did something wrong. So I backtracked and I started looking at all the markets we were hitting. I started looking back at my Slack channel and like what conversations that we were having. And then I started looking at the history of like my Google Drive and all my stuff.
Yeah.
And I noticed the trend and I said, okay, our main thing was, we were sending mail to these good markets and all that stuff. I started changing and I said, let's do more subdivides. Let's add that in. Well, I was taking time from people that were doing the main business, right? And I said, let's refocus our efforts towards this. Okay.
Yep.
Then I also refocused my efforts towards something else. And then my partner also refocused our efforts towards something else. So now between the two of us, we just completely changed everything in our business and nothing was working again. And I'm like, okay, now
it's a woman in the red dress. That's the woman in the red dress right there.
Yeah. Well, we thought we were smarter than the market. So we thought we could manipulate the market by changing and doing our thing because we know what we're doing. But then at the end of the day, we didn't really think about what could have happened. We should have instead 20% change, to implement 20% changes, but keep 80% of the business as normal. And slowly like, okay, test. That didn't work. Okay, go back. Right. So because of that, we had slow acquisitions in Q4. And now this year, our listings went down. We used to have anywhere between 15 and 20 listings live at all times. I only have 4 live right now, which is way below my mark. So now I have to go back and we're rekindling some other old leads and bringing it back on, whatever.
Nice.
And I know by March, I'll have another 20 live.
Yeah.
Because I know what my metrics I have to do. I know the little things I have to change to go back to what I was doing. So getting too big for yourself too quick too happens all the time.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people think like, I know what I'm doing.
It happens.
You don't.
It's happened to me. It's happened to me before. Like,
and
but the thing
even if you say it won't, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
guaranteed
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, especially when you're growing too. And I think there's nothing wrong with failing. I had to learn, business. I had plenty startups that didn't make it anywhere, that have failed, and that just comes with the territory of entrepreneurship. But the more you fail, the closer you are to success. It is truly, and that's how I had to look at it, because every failure you have, there's an ROI on it, right? You've
You
learned
learn
something
something.
from it. You learn
Yeah.
what not to do from it, right?
Mhm.
And so these are just things that help us build who we are, and our next business is just going to be that much better, right? So, and that's, I think, is going to continue as you grow, as you get bigger, as you demand more from yourself, you are going to fail more too, and it
Yep.
just comes with it. So
That's it. Got
yeah.
my first land closing in a few days. 21K purchase price,
Woo!
65 for retail. Woohoo!
That
Good
is
job, brother.
nice.
That's a great spread. I
And
think
I
40
think I think
grand.
he, I think cool. And I think that name sounds familiar. I think he's new too.
Yeah, I think he's been in the Discord a lot. We see him a lot. Guest
Yeah,
on.
yeah, that is awesome.
Good job,
That is,
brother. Good job.
yeah,
Awesome job.
that's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So,
Um,
all right, back to market selection.
back to
Bring it
market
back.
selection. Anyway, deviation. Okay, so zip code level, find those markets, work on, check on the days on market. Now, type of land. Oh, that's the one thing I wanted to bring up too. So finding rock stars in your business is going to change everything too. So I have a rock star VA. She's absolutely freaking amazing. Um, I should show you. I should have you meet her because she's awesome. Just don't steal her from me. But she,
I want she'd be like a fractional VA, like something like
yeah,
that.
right, like a fractional CFO.
I need. So this is what I need. If it was like, I need someone to like organize and create my SOPs, because I have them all up here and I have them like written down
Oh,
everywhere because I just don't have time to do it. Yeah, I need
yeah.
that.
Let me know. We'll do a meeting together, the three of us, and you can meet her, and she'll go find you somebody. This is not for everybody in the general audience. This is only for select people because she doesn't have the time to find everybody a VA. Anyways, but disclaimer. But yeah, I'll work with you with that. She's awesome. But what she did, she actually, when she does, because she does all our market selection and everything, when she goes to find a market, you touched on this before. When she goes to find a market, she actually looks at all the ranges of the land that's selling,
Yeah.
and she'll go back like a year, 2 years, whatever the case may be, and she gives it a rating of 1 through 5.
I love that. You mentioned that before. Yeah.
Yeah. So she'll rate stuff as like a 5. Like, okay, the 2 to 5s are selling, the 4 to 5 to 10s aren't selling that much, whatever. But the 10 to 20s are selling like this. So she rates them all, and then she'll say anything below a 3, we're not going to mail because the demand's not there for that specific type of asset. So like, let's just focus on the bigger ones.
Yep.
So you touched on that before. Like when you look at a market, it's not just about like taking this zip code and broadbanding everything above 5 acres. It doesn't make sense. You're going to lose your KPIs on that. So focusing on just what's in demand is really going to help shrink your ROAS and increase your, contract ratio.
Yeah, so it's just getting super, super sniper with it, because you can look at a county or even a zip code from like, the 0.2 acre range to like 100, right? And it may look really, really nice. And you're like, oh, great, these numbers look great. I'm gonna mail this zip code or this county. But when you break it down, it may just be in that zip code 1 or 2 acreage ranges that are carrying that zip code or that county. And so that's a ton of mail wasted, that you don't want to waste, or just a lot of bullshit owners that call with their land that you don't want because it's going to sit on the market forever, right? And we don't even want to waste our time with that. So I think that's the benefit. It does take longer upfront. I will say that, because you're going through the acreage bands per zip code, but it's totally worth it. Like at the end of the day, with the quality that you're getting. The quality that you're getting back in your lead flow. So I think that's important. Another reason why, I want to make sure at the 12-month range is at least 8 to 10. You have an amazing video on pricing, Dennis. You did back in the day. I have people reach out to me about how to price. I have your video saved, and I like send them the link. You go in so much detail, and it's awesome. When I first started,
send me the link so I can redo that video for 2025.
I will. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. I'll redo it again. Yeah.
But I think pricing for people who starting, for me, I can say like was the hardest thing, right? It was the hardest thing to do. And it took my VA a long time to do it manually. And so what I did is, I started messing around with price, reached out to one of the co-owners there. Him and I, talked about, I'm just like, man, your user experience needs to be a little better on here. Like, what's going on? And he explained to me why he separates all the data the way he does. He doesn't want to tell anyone what's good, right? Because you can get in trouble that way, just like you and I talked about the different metrics mean different things, right? So he doesn't want to push or pull anyone in a different direction. He just has all the data there and available to you to use how you want and to view
Right.
it how you want. And so after speaking with him for a little bit and you know, looking at everything, I'm like, okay, when I pull my markets, I'm going to pull these smaller bands. I'm going to make sure there's enough data. So when price goes to comp, because all price does is pull the comps. That's all it does.
That's all it does. Yeah.
It's not going to take out outliers, you know, anything like that. But if you have enough comps in a little zip code within a 2 to 5 acres range, it's enough. It's the number's good enough that they're going to give you. So what I do is after I pull my data, clean it, scrub it, I run it through price to price it. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, it's so wrong. Don't do that. It's good enough when you do your market selection correctly, to be completely honest with you. Because now price has all these comps that are close and similar to your size lot. And that is close enough, to be completely honest with you. Your pricing doesn't have to be spot on.
You're doing range offers, right?
Yeah, I do range, so I don't do blind.
That even better, because if you're doing a range like 45 to 65%, and then saying, hey, we're going to fall somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
you know,
it gives you that grace. It gives you that grace. Yeah,
you don't have to be like all right on the money, because then when they call and say, well, what is it, 65% or 45%? I don't know, like whatever, they don't know. Like that's when you could kind of say, okay, you missed the mark. It's not actually like we're way off on the pricing. Like we got to be closer to 45% for this to be like actually like a 50%. You know what I mean? Deal.
Yeah. So, I even lower it less than that. Like I do 38% to 46% just to account for the little bit of error that price may have, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we also we frame everything for our owners when they call in. We make sure they know, hey, this is an estimate. When you call us, we'll talk about details and the different characteristics of your land, because that makes a big difference. I think that's important, framing your customer and getting them ready when they call in to know it's not going to be this highest number that you see, because obviously that's the number that they want, but it's going to be determined all after we do our due diligence with you. I think that's really important for them to know. So that the range letter works. And I know every kind of letter works, right? Depending on what you want. If you want to go with a neutral letter, if you want to talk to a lot of people, that is the way to go. I don't want to talk to a lot of people. Like we don't want to kiss a lot of frogs. Like that's not what we want to do.
I'm not an appraiser. I don't want to appraise all these properties. Like that's why I don't love neutral letters, because neutral letters, you're just an appraiser.
You're an appraiser, for free.
That's it. They're gonna call you and say, how much is my land worth? Well, I could give you $40,000. That's too low. Okay, great. See you later. So like that's time wasted. I'd rather get the low hanging fruit and just focus on like, okay, maybe I'm not getting all the calls in my CRM, but that's also like people I don't have to follow up with. They want too much. Unless that's when you do that, when you have your brokerage. That's when you do that.
Yeah, I guess that's when we do that. Now the neutral would be perfect for the brokerage. Now that you say that. That's when we might pull that lever and say, okay, let's go ham on the neutral if we want to do it that way. But then I thought about, the blind offers, and I feel like I'm from a sales background, and from B2C to B2B sales. And what I learned in that time is like, you never ask to close into question. And I feel like blind offers are kind of the letter version of closing the questions. Like you're trying to sell something to someone, you're not going to ask something that the answer can be yes or no, because that is the end of the conversation. Like that's the end of it. So I feel like, and again, people use all three and they work. Like I'm not saying one doesn't work, but for me, I feel like sending someone a blind offer, it could say 45,000 in their head. They want maybe 52,000 for whatever reason. They might throw your letter away. But if you're presenting something that says, hey, this is an average, this is a range. When you call in, we'll talk about it. It's like, okay, they're going to be somewhat okay with that range. And then you guys go from there. Like, and they're going to call in. It doesn't just shut it down. I had a guy, older gentleman, he called, we talked, I texted him, I said, hey, I can give you 21, right? Low balling a little bit. And he was just like, well, it has utilities, it has all this, I want 24. Sorry to waste your time. I said, whoa, hold on. I said, well, I have to do a survey. You don't have a survey. It's not one on record. I have to spend $1,000 for that. Who knows how much it costs? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, can you meet me at 23? And he's like, Shug. He called me Shug. He said, you know what? I can do that. And so like people will cut you off thinking that is your final number. You know what I'm saying? So like if your letter is your only representation, you have no personality, you have no, relationship with this person, they're gonna be like, oh, that's $5 for what I wanted, or $6 for what I wanted. And for us,
I'm
we
not
can
gonna
work with
call them.
$6. We can go up a little bit if we need
Yeah,
to.
that's where you offer 90-day close, things like
Yeah,
that.
exactly,
You know,
exactly. So
or maybe
that's
there's
my
something.
reason for, I've done ranges since I've started, and that's why I like them, and I will continue to do them.
Yeah,
I used to do 38 to 46% on, like, it didn't matter the value, but now anything over like 180K, I do up it to like 45% to like 65%. I think I put her at something like that. But I do up
yeah,
it a little bit more.
yeah. We do too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with those. So
we go up a little bit more. Anything above, I think it's 200K. That's when we start tapering up a little bit, and then at that point, like we look for like, okay, how much can we make? Like we want to make sure we're making at least like a specific spread for the larger deals. But
yeah, exactly.
yeah, but I did this thing inside Leah's Discord, and I asked a bunch of people to fill out deals and kind of get like a seller avatar, and
And I
yeah,
I never sent you mine, Dennis.
yeah,
Actually, now that
I
you're
know
talking about it,
that's okay. That's
I
okay.
was doing
So
that.
from all my responses I got, I'll give everybody like the averages. So
Okay.
um, most properties that have sold more than 50%, almost 60%, are male owned, single owner male.
Mm.
Seller age, more than 50% of the sellers are 65 plus, right? Very, very few, zero were less than 30. So if you're like looking at data and you have their age on there, like you could almost just scrub out anybody that's less than 30 and just eliminate them.
Mm.
Zero from all these responses have been less than 30. I can't think of any of my deals that were less than 30 either. Most
No,
are 65
the
plus.
only ones that, and did like one maybe, and I don't even know their age. Just hearing the sound of their voice on the phone, I didn't think they were older. Is because they I think they inherited it,
Yeah.
and they were just trying to get rid of it. But everyone else,
Yeah.
that didn't even close. Like that didn't even
Yeah.
close. Yeah. So
If you,
everyone else is definitely older, 80,
Mhm. Yep.
90. That
Yep.
yeah,
So that's
definitely.
another thing too. Like I talk about this a lot. Like I used to do marketing video, like letter videos and stuff like that. When you think about your sellers are typically 65 plus. When you're doing your marketing, don't make tiny little letters.
Yeah.
They're gonna throw it out. Write everything bigger, 14 plus font, everything like that, 20 plus,
It's
whatever.
senior friendly.
Yeah, make it. I'm serious. Make it senior
Yeah,
friendly
yeah,
because
yeah.
you don't want too many words. You don't want hard to read things. You want things that stand out, right? You
Yeah.
want them to not have to take their glasses off when they look at this letter or put their glasses on. You want them to pull it out and say, "How much is K offering?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they could just read it
Okay.
right there. Exactly. So like, because you're gonna get a better response. The ones they can't read, they're like, "I have to get my glass. I don't want just throw it out. Yeah, whatever."
Mhm,
They just don't
mhm.
care. So that's another thing. Location wise, more than 80% of all properties, the seller lived outside of the county where the land
Really
is. Yes, 80%. So
interesting.
that's another good one. Um, how did they obtain their property? Now, most people would think that they inherited the property and that's why they're selling. No, more than 70% of all properties that were purchased all properties were purchased, not inherited. More than
So
70%.
yeah, I see that in
Yeah,
my data too. My data is a
yeah,
little tiny subset, but I see the same thing. A lot of
yeah,
it is they purchased it years ago. They're going to
yes,
use it, and they're
yep,
not going to use it. In my data, it shows about 50-50. And of course, mine's a little subset data as
yeah.
far as out of state and in state.
Hmm.
And yeah, so
And with how long they've owned it longer than 10 years. More than 70% of all sales they've owned it for more than 10 years. So like if you just think about that, right? You're like, if I just focus on out of county, above 65, and it's purchased and they've owned it for more than 10 years, right then and there, you whittle down your mail probably by a lot.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
definitely.
offer percentage accepted was typically between 45 and 55%. 45 was like the majority, and then the second majority was 55 to 65%. And then the biggest for the average, most spreads are 50 to 100,000. And then the secondary to that were all about the same. We're about 30 to 40K was about the average. And now here's the real one, the parcel size. So everybody markets to
Mm,
everything, right?
yeah.
Parcel size, predominantly, most of the parcel sizes are 5 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, with an 80% majority versus everything else. So
Wow.
not bearing like markets in mind. So like certain markets like Wisconsin, things like that, typically 40 acres plus is normal. Oklahoma, 40 acres plus is normal. Texas, stuff like that. That's not taken into account to that. But yeah, and then 75% of all data, the seller was not distressed.
That is
So
what I see as well. Yeah, I
same,
noticed that right off the bat. So I'm like,
yeah.
why is everyone thinking these folks are distressed? I'm like, everyone I talk to is like,
Yeah.
they can wait. They're fine.
If you think about the people that own land, they're not going to be a distressed seller, right? Because typically it's like they have a house and this extra piece of land.
It's
They're
extra.
usually
Yeah.
on the upper, maybe not like fully on the upper scale, like, but they're maybe like the next level of middle class. Like they're owning a second piece of land. Like that's,
Yeah.
so they don't necessarily need the money, but it's definitely something that helps. So like when you're whittling down your mail, like and you're targeting markets and picking out this stuff, these are little things to like look at and think about. It kind of goes a little further, but that's like later on when you're looking to hone in and like how to really target on stuff. That's
Right.
that's what I do. Look at that stuff.
When you pull your data, do you put owned longer than 10 years? Or
No,
does it kind of vary?
so we don't, because the reason why I don't do that is a lot of times it just doesn't have any data in that field.
Right, it doesn't. Yes,
Right.
blank, or it could be a family
Blank,
transfer or something like that.
interfamily transfer, it's
Yeah.
blank, whatever the case may be. So we don't do that. When we certain times, like if we're going after like retargeting a market, we'll look at that and we'll say, okay, let's retarget this market, but let's change the parameters, change the range, maybe send a neutral. That's when we'll skinny it down even further and say, okay, now we've already scrubbed this. We know we want this. We know we want that. Let's skinny it down and say, okay, we only want to target these avatars with a neutral layer,
Right.
because they're the ones that are most likely to sell at a discount. Okay, let's send that out. So that's what I try to do on more of like a retargeting campaign necessarily than a first touch. First touch, I just want a broadband, get the low hanging fruit, grab them,
Yep.
and then go to the next thing, right?
And it's I was forced to learn how to skinny down my list just based on the lack of the money to spend the marketing, to be completely honest with you. And it forced me to really, really pay attention to, okay, what avatars are going to most likely buy, right? Is it out of state? How long have they owned it? Et cetera, et cetera. And I just say that to say, it almost hurts you sometimes when you come in this business and you have this huge slush fund. And
it hurts a lot.
Yeah, it does, because you're hiring everything out and you're just mailing or marketing to everything. And you're not learning that skill set, to really say, okay, let me be frugal with my marketing. How do I do that? Let me make sure I'm hitting the best criteria for my market. And so I think that's like the plus side of coming into the business and not having all this money to spend on marketing initially.
Huge. Yeah. Like I know your KPIs right now are like 700 to a letter, right?
They're about 700 to a letter, and that's including all the stuff that like because we get signed PAs, and about, I would say, 29% of the ones we get like don't make it across the finish line because of one thing or another with title or whatever have you. That includes that those that don't make it across. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like, and your spend is, you're probably about like $1 per letter.
I'm $1 per letter. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So $1 per letter. So like that's a really good KPI. So your cost per acquisition is around $700, right?
Yeah. And yeah, it's about $700. And once I'm able to fund my own deals, literally the profit increases 20-30% in the business automatically, or not, just get some better funding or financing options. Yeah. Right now, like I'm really horning in on double closing because you don't have a lot of funding fees with that, right?
So that's super nice, actually.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, that's the focus. Of course, if we want to buy them, they're really good deals. We're gonna go ahead and do that. But we try to do double closes just simply to reduce the amount that we have to pay to a funder. And we love funders. Shout out to the funders.
No, it is important though. You got to make up some money where you can, right? Because if you just keep letting everybody feed off your deal, then next thing you know, you're left with nothing.
It's like
too much. It's like, oh great, I got a $50,000 spread. It's like, okay, well, funder, realtor, this person, that person, everybody. Next thing you know, you made 10 grand. It's like,
you're just like, what the hell? Like I was excited about this when it first started. And I'm a very active manager. When I get a funder, like I will update you. I like doing all the work because I get
Yeah.
all the experience and I'm building on the relationship. So I like if I'm doing all the work, it's like, the beginning with the funder, like I suggest everyone use them. Like they're your second set of eyes. They are there as your like your guardrails and everything like that. But when you start, getting down to business and building your business, like literally that they take 20-30%, of your revenue. And that's a tough hit, in the big scheme of things as you grow your business. So
yeah. There's also too, I mean, when you get hit that large amount of growth, going back to them is also great, because at that point you might not have enough capital to sustain growth. So that's another huge thing too. Like we run into problems where sometimes it's like all the capital I have, or partners I have, like they're tapped out. So it's like, okay, well now what do I have to do? I have to go out and raise more capital. Well, instead of me doing that, I could just go into a funder. Maybe I'm paying 20-30%, but I don't have to do the relationship, test them, all that stuff. I can just pass them. Hey, go fund this. Great. Yeah, that's fine. You're going to take 20-30%.
Yeah, it's easy.
It's easy. It's like pushing the easy button. Now I know I'm going to make it up on my other deals, so it's okay. But that's another thing too. Like we have some deals coming up that are in $400,000 or $500,000 range, and that could wipe out like one of my lenders entirely. So that's another thing too. So I don't like putting one lender, taking all their money, putting
very risky.
Very risky. I like taking like 10 or 20% of their capital and putting it into a deal. So this way there's like, enough spread. Like just in case something happens, like we're good. They still have money. Not that anything would ever happen, but whatever. Just in case. So
just in case. Cover your ass. Yeah.
So yeah. Awesome. All right. So wow, we covered a lot of tangents.
Yeah. I think we went over all the market selection stuff. I don't know if there's anything we didn't cover.
Yeah. So I mean, is there like a range you don't even go for, or no? Like you're just like, as long as there's sales, I go for that kind of thing, right?
As far as the range and what
size range, like acreage size.
Oh, acreage size. So when I first started, I just did tiny little acreages, to be honest with you, like little infill lots in very hot areas. Because I know they're going to sell fast. Like recreational land to me is optional for a consumer, right?
Yes.
If you need to build a house and you're in a market like Charlotte and the lowest house you can get in a decent area is $500,000, now a piece of land that's $50,000 and you can have a builder build it and all in is $300,000 looks very appealing. And that's the market, honestly, in most metros and around them. So there's more of a need to buy land to build on. That is a need because they're going to live there. Recreational land is secondary. It is optional, and so that land appealed to me for that reason. And that was one of my first deals before I even got into this industry, was a tiny little piece of land in the city that somebody needed to build on. So
are you still doing that now?
In that space? Yeah. I do. Okay. I just started getting into the bigger acreage ranges. The biggest lot that I've ever, think 17 acres, which is a subdivide that we have right now listed. And it's just a simple subdivide. Like it was 24. We just took off 17. I think that is the biggest one right now that I've ever done. And I have one that's about 100 acres from a woman who wants to work with us simply because we're woman owned. She told me, she's like, "You're woman owned. That's why I want to work with you." And I'm like, "Oh."
That's it. You put like little things like that. And that's going to
she's like, "I don't want it. I can't manage it. The kids don't want it. So I don't even know what I'm going to do with it. Like I need a set of senior eyes to look at strategy with that. But typically my deals are like, they're tiny little lots. They're like 0.35 acres, 1 acre, 3 acres, like 2 acres. Like that's kind of what I do. I am now saying like, don't limit myself. So I just started kind of saying, okay, if the data says it's good in this area, why not? But that hasn't been my bread and butter, but I am going into it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've always been like only 5 acres and above. That's all we're gonna do. Only 5 acres
and I knew that going into, because every course said that. Every course was like, stay out of metros, 5 acres and up. And I was like, I'm going into metros. I'm doing 2 acres and below. I
know,
because no one's hitting it. Like no one's. No, like the local little
Very
infield
few.
people are, but they're not as skilled as I
Yeah.
think some of the folks like in our community as far as
Mhm.
marketing and systems. So we have an advantage,
Yeah.
in that
Yeah,
way.
and there's nothing wrong with that because there's always demand. There's always relationships you could build too. If you dispo to one builder and then he talks to you, he's like, "Hey, I like working with you. Give me 100 more." Well, then your
Thousand
business is
percent.
on fire, because
Yeah.
now like whatever, like that's what they want. Okay, good. I'll go find a bunch more and just keep
Yep.
bringing it because they have quotas we have to meet, like that we
Yep.
talked about before. Yeah, so we actually just started kind of hitting more of the smaller like infill stuff, just knowing like, okay, well, we have that, we have the rec side, that's going, that's great. Let's also bring in some other stuff because we're already doing all this. Why not just get some of these
Why
sold?
not?
Our exit's
Yeah.
already there. We know who's going to buy it. So, and we know what they're buying it for. Let's just
Yep.
get more of these lots in our inventory so that we could start moving them.
Yep.
And, that's kind of like,
Like
what
don't
we do.
limit yourself. Like I will
No.
say, like, get what your bread and butter is, understand that, but like try some other things too.
Yeah.
Like I will say the difference between metros and rec land or larger acreages, not even rec, like 2 acres. It is easier to comp that stuff in my opinion. I can comp that like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're going into metros and you're looking at tiny little lots that are like 0.15 acres, the finding out utility information is a little bit difficult,
Yeah.
and pricing is a little bit difficult, and
Yeah.
so just be prepared for that. Yeah, that
See,
is.
I think it's easy to price that because you know what the houses are selling for. So you could work backwards from there. Okay, my
That is
average
true.
house,
Yeah,
it's at
that
a
is true.
1,500 square foot. Cost to build is 185 a square. Multiply that. That's what my cost to build is. Subtract that from the future exit price. Add a percentage onto that, and then work yourself down. And you're like, okay, the max I could offer is 10% of a future home value.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the house is selling for 400,000, you could offer 40,000 for that lot, sell it for 60 or 80,000, and know
Yeah.
that a builder's going to go out there and they're going to make their 15% as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
1,000%. We do like a 20% rule with the builder, and every builder is different
yeah,
because I have had builders say it's 10% of the value of what they're going to sell it for. So for pricing, when you like run it through a priced, is not going to work for metros. What I mean with pricing, yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's a kind of like an individualized type of thing you have to do per little lot that you do.
Yep.
But it's a lot. I think it's a lot of value in it because like all the courses are teaching don't do little lots. All the courses are teaching 5 and 10 acres and up,
Yeah.
So
I think it's good to be well versed in everything. That's really what it comes down to. Like
yeah.
you have a good exit with those smaller lots. I don't think it's a bad thing to split some of your marketing, go, 50-50 or 80-20, whatever.
Yeah. See what
Like
comes from it.
maybe you'll get one or two deals that floats all your marketing for the bigger deals that come down the road. Like
Yep.
that's kind of the whole thing. So just knowing what your minimum profit per deal you want to make is, and then focusing on lots that are going to bring you that.
Yep.
So like we get lots all the time on our website that are like 2 acres, 3 acres, 0.5 acres, all this stuff, like small little lots. I go look at the subdivision. They're selling for like $2,000. I'm like, what am I going to offer this guy? Like $100?
Yeah,
Like,
those I'm not done. Yeah, I'm not doing those.
I'm not, so like you have to look at that and say, okay, well, I don't
Yeah.
want these lots. I got to make sure I'm making like, as long as the solds are more than 50 grand, then I know I could buy it for 20 and sell it for 50.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
stuff like
I mean, I think that is something too that I'm noticing. People equate the size of the lot to the value of the lot. Like, oh, the bigger the acreage. And it's not
not at
not
all.
the case. It's lots all day long that are quarter acre lots, and they're $200,000,
Yeah.
especially beach areas. Like
Oh
a
my
lot
God,
of
yeah.
people, when they scrub out wetlands and stuff like that. And this is the importance of a mile deep, knowing your markets. There
Mhm.
are places that are 100% covered in wetlands, but
Yep.
they are great areas, and you're scrubbing all of them out. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? You could do your market research, and then we go put your data, you're scrubbing them because you just don't know the market.
Yep.
And it's a coastal
100%.
county, right? So everything is built on floodlands. They know that it's high demand, and it's just part of
Yeah.
it. And like if you don't know that, you're gonna miss out on that opportunity.
Yep. That's why I actually, it's funny you said, I literally just did a retraining on, to my VAs that do my scrubbing, because I started noticing they were scrubbing out really good lots because there was flood zones or FEMA
Mhm.
flood zone areas. And I said, look, here is the thing you got to look at. If you see a flood zone and absolutely zero infrastructure, no houses, nothing like that, then yes, that's a flood zone. We want to scrub
Right.
that out. If you see a flood zone, but then there's houses built everywhere, then we want that because they don't care if it's a flood zone in that area. Like
Nope.
there's probably a reason why that's okay. Like this one market in Arizona, we looked at it, all the houses were built in the flood zone, none were built in the not flood zone part because it was too dry. They were never able to tap for wells in the non-flood zone areas. So like to me, I didn't even think of that. But then like I started looking at this, I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. The dry areas, they can't do anything because they can't get water.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to go there. So I'm like,
Yep.
they marked all the wrong ones. I'm like, no, we need to flip the script. All these are the good ones. Those
Yeah,
are
no,
the
these are the good ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I like totally took over everything, had no VAs doing it, like doing everything myself. And it's tedious and takes time. But I learned little things like that because I'm just like, man, I picked this market. It's really good. Why don't I have any data? When I pull it, it's because I scrubbed it out. And you learn these little nuances that are going to help you kind of, step it up and be successful. Yeah.
If you're in Florida, everything's a flood zone.
Yeah, everything's a flood zone there.
Yeah. It would just all get scrubbed out. So
Yep.
I feel like there's certain areas where you got to look like flood zones are okay. Other areas,
what's built around it,
Right. And what kind of flood zone, what kind of wetland, all that stuff is super important. So
yes.
Yeah, my God. All right, we could talk all day.
I know. I know, Dennis.
I know. Are we gonna have to do a part 3 so people just keep going with this? Just do a monthly
just have me on as a monthly guest. Dennis,
yeah, we'll just do a monthly guest. Or
yeah.
That's it. We'll just keep doing that. Awesome. Yeah. So this is awesome. I hope people got a lot of value out of this one. But let's do another one. And just talk about what's going on next. We'll schedule it a few weeks from now. So
perfect.
Sweet. Awesome, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. Okay, I just want to show you something before we hop off, too.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Later.